Hello and welcome to another edition of Pop and Scott Talk Baseball. How you doing today, Dad?
Well, I'm just tired. I mean, as old as I am, when I finish with 3 hours with the kids on Sunday
Right,
mornings, and we fix dinner and everything. I'm like an old guy. I sit down. I want to take a nap,
right,
but
right.
I feel fine.
That's good. Been watching any baseball or
Oh yeah. I watched some women's softball. There hadn't been too much college baseball on
the
to get ready
the
for playoffs.
their
But I mean,
tournaments?
I've watched quite a bit of as much as I could of the major leagues, but it's been uh, it's been interesting, and there's been some surprises to on the good side and some surprises on the bad side. So
Well, let's talk about a trade that happened here this start of the weekend. Araza, or not? Yeah, for the Marlins,
yeah,
getting
Luis
traded to
Arias went to San Diego.
San Diego. The what was crazy about that was there was three prospects from San Diego that got traded, and one of them was standing on second base in the third inning of a baseball game. When the trade went down, the announcers were talking about it. They saw it coming across, and two players that were in that game got traded during the game. So the coach came out, made a change. I don't know if you've seen this. And the guy comes off a second. He's asking what's going on. He thought he did something wrong. And he comes in and gets his stuff. And the third base coach goes, hey, gives him a handshake. And I think he kind of told him, and he gets his stuff. And the manager goes, you've been traded. And another guy got his stuff, hugged the batter. And the crazy thing was, it was an away game, and they had to walk all the way out the right field fence or to go to the clubhouse to get their stuff.
Is that on
Yeah,
the major league club or a minor league club?
it was a minor league club.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
what I
they're like a
thought
double A team.
because they had three prospects and a relief pitcher.
Right. And these two guys played on the team together, the Padres organization, going to Miami organization. They might be on a major league team by today, but yeah, so that was kind of, I mean, Miami's the type of team, they kind of see where their season's going, and they're going to start building for the future now. I mean, why hang on to a top guy if you have no hope of doing
Well, I
anything?
mean, there's something like 6-24 or something. I mean,
Yeah.
they have a horrible record. The White Sox have a horrible record, but I mean, it's just you can see there's about 6-8 teams. They're going to be the ones playing for those. Be from those 6-8 teams playing for the World Series.
Yeah.
The rest of them can start playing for next year, the year after, because they're done
Well,
already.
I think there's more teams than that because the Diamondbacks, the teams have shown year after year, you just make the playoffs, you have a chance. You get a couple of pitchers, things can go your way, you got a chance. And I'm feeling like there's a big middle of the pack, and they're all. I think it's going to be fun to watch this year, coming down the end. There is some good, very good teams, but it seems to be a lot of uh, 15 and 15 teams. Uh, like I was saying, a lot of 15, 16 and 16 teams, 14 and, whatever. I think it's going to be a fun watch this year. I'm happy now I get to watch games when I want to watch games. So I got to see a little bit of this Rays weekend with the Mets. Not happy with it. Before we get too far, I did see something about the local baseball team there in town there, Dad. They're going to play, because we were making fun of the Tampa Bay new uniforms, me and my friends, because it looked like they're going to play in black light the way the glow in the dark stuff they're
Yeah,
wearing. Well, I saw on social media that the wooden bat team in the league there in town, is wearing. They're going to play a black light game
They are.
with
It's
glow in the. I saw they did a preview with the glow in the dark ball, bats, everything. Man, I don't know if I want to watch that. I don't know. That would be. I don't know how to feel about. I mean, they are good at promoting. I got to give them that.
Yeah, I got the email the other day.
Trying to do something different. And actually, I have the email, but when I saw the actual preview for it, was on Sports Illustrated Instagram feed. So Sports Illustrated has it, talking about it. So this is making like national sports news that this team's doing this. It's going to be amazing how they do this. We know that stadium. I don't know how they're going to put the black lights in to play this game. I really don't know how this is going to work. And it'd be interesting to watch. I don't know if I'd get sick on my stomach watching it, but yeah, I need to find out a date, maybe come up to watch.
Oh, we do it with the 4th and 5th grade kids at church. Once the third Friday of every month, we have what we call H2O, His to Own, and we have an event and we have a Bible lesson and they play glow in the dark dodgeball. It's the same concept.
Right.
White T-shirts, and we give them a little bit of like this glow in the dark makeup, and they'll put a couple of marks on their face, and they play dodgeball, and the black lights are over on the side, and we take and roll the balls in front of it, and then the balls glow, and they have a ball, but that's one of the most fun they have.
Yeah.
I see how where I'm not. I don't know how Shepherd Stadium I don't know how they're gonna make that work, but well, they must know what they're doing.
Right. I did, like I said, it showed a guy pitching, and you can see the ball. I mean, you can track it. I just don't know. I've seen night golf where you have glow in the dark golf balls and pins and stuff. People do play that just for funsies. But I just wanted to bring that up because the ridiculousness of this year and making fun of glow in the dark uniforms, and there's somebody actually doing it.
Yeah. I mean, and that, speaking of unis, I read the other day that Nike has listened to the players and everybody griping about those uniforms, and they're going to change them.
Yeah. Well, when you can't even slide without them ripping, there's an issue. And they made a change to something I never heard anybody gripe about in the past. And, that usually doesn't work well when that happens.
Well, there's the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're not wearing the old school wool uniforms like from the 30s. The stuff they wore was mesh and it felt heavy. But when you're playing with an undershirt on, it wasn't probably that bad to them. And when it gets to 100 degrees in August, it don't matter what you're wearing.
Yeah, you can be out there buck naked and you're going to be hot.
Yeah, you're better off wearing something that helps soak sweat so you can feel all the breezes. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, we're talking about Miami, too, with trading their best player. I mean, their best player. But I watched the Nationals got swept by the Dodgers at home, and then they went down to Miami and they swept 4 games from Miami. Miami's just, I feel bad for them. The Monday night game, they had 6,000 people. 6,000.
Yeah. So I saw
in Richmond had 9. A double A team in Richmond had 9, and they had 6 in Miami.
Well, I saw a thing from yesterday's game in Chicago. It only looked like about a handful of fans in that crowd, in that stands.
Yeah, the White Sox, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were playing there again. They were playing St. Louis. Bill Buckner. I call him Bill Buckner. CB Buckner. The only reason he's not the worst balls and strike umpire in Major League Baseball is because there's a guy named Angel in there.
Yeah.
He's still got a job. Well, Buckner's behind the play. Now get this. They playing until in the ninth inning. It is pouring down rain. I mean, a deluge. The grounds crew guy tells there's a storm coming. He told the umpires that for the inning. There's a deluge. They try to play the game. They get to the last out. Then they stop the game with 1 out to go. And 3 hours later, they come back out on the field. And the White Sox guy comes up to bat in the bottom of the ninth. St. Louis is pitching to him. And Buckner calls him out on a strike, on a changeup that's 6-8 inches off the plate. Well, naturally, the White Sox people went nuts. But I mean, why didn't you stop the game at the beginning of the inning?
Right.
Instead of you try to get it in, okay, then everybody's soaking wet. It's not raining any harder. It's pouring down rain anyway. You got one more out. I mean, I can understand the players getting hurt, but they could have got it hurt at the beginning of the inning.
Right.
So, I mean, but here again, the umpiring is
Well, did you see the judge throw out last night?
Where he got thrown out of the game?
Or yesterday,
no,
yeah.
I did not. I just read about him getting thrown out for the first time.
Right, and from what it looks like is he didn't like the call. Seems like it was a bad call, but I don't know if this guy was consistently bad or whatever. And Judge just said something on his way back to the bench, and he got thrown out. And that's where we're at now with these umpires. You used to be able to do that. As long as you're walking away and you stopped your chirping eventually.
Yeah.
As long as you didn't say something
Well, I mean, here's
derogatory to the umpire.
You say the wrong word, you're going.
Yeah.
And
right.
and see that
and I don't think Judge does that. I don't think
that's the first time he's been thrown out, son. First time.
Right. And these umpires have a thing. I mean, we talk about it. Nobody's paying $300 a ticket to see the umpire. And I know you can't let these players get away with everything or anything. If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. But you got to have some type of, thought process.
Well, I mean, Judge is not right now. He's hitting like 190 or something.
Right.
He's
I'm sure he's
a terrible year. So he might have let his temper get away with him a little bit, but he's never been thrown out. I mean,
right.
If you've never been like Cal Ripken, I think he got thrown out of about 3 games in his entire 87 years in the major leagues.
Right.
I mean, some players just don't get thrown out. They don't make waves. And yeah, I read that he got thrown out for the first time. I mean, I just had to bring that up because it was just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, the umpiring. Well, I've talked about it. When you have an umpire that is so bad that nothing happens to him, that just lets the other umpires know they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
When Angel Hernandez can get away with literally sitting there with his eyes shut on a check swing and just made up a call, because that's what it looked like he did to Harper last year, and nothing happens to him outside of, he's not going to be in the playoffs or whatever, but so the other umpires know there's no recourse. They can miss balls, strikes, taken in and off. Nothing's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
I did see in a minor league game where an umpire got ejected by the other umpires because he bumped the coach. I saw that in a minor league game. An umpire got thrown out. But I feel like that is the major problem with Angel. It's not just Angel Hernandez is bad or other umpires are bad. There's nothing that happens to them when they are bad. So they don't go to the minor leagues. They don't, miss a game. They don't, whatever. They don't lose a check. Nothing. And I can tell you right now, if I did some equivalent to some of these calls at my job,
oh yeah,
I would not have a job.
Exactly.
So, and I think when the working man or woman is in the crowd or at home watching a game and sees somebody getting paid to do a job, and I know they can say that box thing, whatever, but it's there, and it looks like it's the right thing. Looks like they got it zeroed in. And some of these are not even close.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and now I've said it right here, and I'll say it one more time today. Everybody's going to miss a call. So if you miss a ball or a strike call, hey, that's fine. You might miss 2 of them a game. That's 18 innings, half innings. So that's fine. I don't have a problem with that because that's just the way it is. Sometimes the catcher's fool, sometimes the umpire's fool on a pitch. But when it's right down the middle, or in this case, it ended a game. It took the bat right out of the hands of the last batter. It's devastating. Yeah. And that's the Twins are rolling.
They are.
The Twins are rolling, and Carlos Correa. They got some good news. They got him back, but guess what? And Buxton went on the IR with a bad leg. So, but they did get Correa back. My man Dela Cruz of the Cincinnati Reds.
Not doing bad.
In the month of April, he had 17 stolen bases and 8 home runs. The most in a month by one player of either one of those together since 1901 when they started keeping records.
They're saying that he's going to break Acuna's record from last year for that duo. He's on pace. So,
Trout went out again.
Yes.
Torn meniscus. So he's out.
But the first thing they said, they were looking for him back before the end of the year. But I don't see that happening.
Well, he had surgery.
Right. They said with surgery, he still would be back in 2 months.
Well, the meniscus in surgery, for football players, they can be back in 4 to 8 weeks, depending. Right. But, with the baseball players, it might be a little different. And
I don't know if he'll play outfield, but
when they signed Kevin Pillar, he didn't have a job, so they signed him, and he came in his first game, he hit a home run. But they signed Kevin Pillar. John Means of the Baltimore Orioles was activated and pitched last night. Pitched 7 shutout innings last night. But the problem was Grayson Rodriguez went on the IL.
Didn't know that, but that's sad. Yeah,
it's a shoulder. Washington. I was watching Washington earlier in the week. They beat Texas 1-0. And what made this game really exciting, Texas loaded the bases in 2 innings with nobody out and did not score. In both innings, it was the same thing. The first batter came up, hit a little ground ball, a little dribbler. The first one was third, threw home, got the force play. The second one was to the pitcher. He threw home, got the force play. The next batter in both innings struck out. And the third one popped up, and they didn't score, and they lost 1-0. Now, they came back the next night, and they won. But, it was just ironic. I said, I'm used to Washington doing this, getting the bases loaded.
Well, I was going to touch on some bad baseball, but you started it. So last night watching the Mets game, and I sat here and I heard myself, and I'm like, damn, I sounded like my dad. So it's 7th inning. The Mets can't get. They got 6 hits, but none of them are back to back. They only scored 1 run. It was on a home run in the first inning or second inning. McNeil gets on base. He's batting 6th. Bader is batting 7th. Fast as all get out. So the second baseman is playing up the middle. The first baseman is holding on McNeil with a left-handed pitcher that's coming off the mound and kind of falls to third. Why are you not bunting to first, on the first base side of the field? I'm sitting here going, this is okay. You're late in the game. This isn't early, but it's late in the game. You're not really getting back-to-back hits. Both pitchers are pitching well. The Mets had a call up yesterday that had a fantastic game, Scott. And that was another thing. So his dad's in the front row. The rest of the entourage is up in the seats. His dad's in the first row of the second inning, and Rosenthal comes down there while the half inning his son is pitching and talks to him throughout the whole half of that inning. Now his son goes in the dugout for the other half of the inning. Why didn't he go down there and talk to him then?
They do that all the time.
I know. It drives me crazy.
It adds a certain ambiance to the
He's 21-year-old. Let him pitch. He had a hot girlfriend that kept showing up in there. But that's the thing now with all these pitchers. But anyway,
that's a Taylor Swift effect.
Yeah. So anyway, Harris Bader strikes out. Then McNeil steals second. Strikeout. 3 strikeouts. And I'm like, well, never mind. Don't even bunt because nobody can put the ball in play. So, but that was my point. Was like, no, they couldn't get hit. It's the scattered 6 hits, right? So they got 7 hits up to that point, but none of them were like back to back or guy on second, anything like that. It was really
son. The problem is, and it's really bad for me because I'm so old, is I grew up where, everybody on the team could bunt. Right. Now, very few people bunt. They don't even try because they can't. Right. They don't know how. They've never been coached to bunt because nobody bunts anymore. They swing away. That started way back with Earl Weaver. That's how old this is. This is back in the 60s and 70s. Earl Weaver was the first manager to say, I'm not going to bunt because I'm not going to waste an out.
Right.
Okay, then you hit a double play, so you wasted 2 outs. Makes sense to me. I mean, okay, let's talk about this. The other night, the third baseman was playing almost at shortstop against the Nationals. They had runners in first and second and nobody out. And they had the little shortstop up there batting, left-handed. I'm going, bunt the ball down the third baseline. It'll take 30 minutes for the third baseman to get over and get the ball, and you had the bases loaded. Instead, he swung away and he struck out. The next 2 guys popped up, and the inning was over. I mean, if he'd have bunted, he'd have had the bases loaded. That changes everything.
Yeah, that's why I didn't care about the shift, because there's ways to make teams stop shifting. There are ways, but Major League Baseball took it upon themselves. It didn't do anything. All they did was, okay, the second baseman or shortstop can't be on the other side of the bag. The ball up the middle is still getting caught, unless it's on a rope. But anyway, I feel like, when it's that late in the inning, and you've been screaming this into the wind, and it almost feels like where nobody's listening, nobody can hear you. That is a major part of the game. Now today, Tampa Bay did bunt earlier to put men on second and third with 1 out because the guy bunted and got out, but put men on second and third. And then they scored they knocked them in with a hit. So they scored 2 runs, right? Because tonight it's a third inning, it's 4-3, and Mets are pitching Severino, which is having a good season. I mean, Tampa Bay ain't like teeing off on him or nothing, but they've manufactured 4 runs.
Well, Tampa Bay is not playing as well as they did last year, and that's one of the teams that the Boston Red Sox are in 3rd place in the American League East. That's one of the surprise teams. The good side, they had a real good month, so they're in 3rd place in the American League East. Again, Walker Buehler came back for the Dodgers, and he's supposed to pitch tomorrow against the Marlins. And then Gunnar Henderson made 2 plays again yesterday in the field. Well, unbelievable. He jumped and caught a line drive in the webbing and made it a snow cone. And it was unbelievable. It made the top 10 plays on ESPN this morning. And he was named the player of the month in the American League for April. Mookie Betts was in the National League. But you get Buehler back for the Dodgers, that's going to help them a lot, and they're rolling. They murdered Atlanta last night. They beat them 2 out of 2. They play the third game today. The Phillies, they're rolling. They're in first place in the East, but Trey Turner's out 6 weeks with a pulled hamstring. Oh, yeah. He pulled his hamstring Friday night, and he's out. Yesterday, I read that he's out. They're estimating about 6 weeks. Nathan Eovaldi went out for the Texas Rangers with a groin strain. He's on the 15-day disabled list. So I just looked at the standings real quick. Arise. His first game with San Diego since the trade. 4 for 4.
Well, he's going to see a lot more pitches there.
He's going to do what he's always done. He's going to hit.
And he's going to be a table setter.
So, he was 4 for 4. He was 4 for 4. Anyway, in the American League, the Orioles and the Yankees are basically tied for first place. The Red Sox are third, and the Central, Cleveland is still leading the Twins, but just barely. And in the West, it's the Seattle Chargers. Hey, they might win the West. They might. Then they're getting the playoffs. They're going to have Phil Rivers a quarterback, and they're going to lose. It's what Seattle does. They only get so far, and then that's it. They can't get over the hump. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see Seattle get to the World Series. I really would. But it's just, you just watch them.
Yeah, they're a fun team. That's a young, talented team.
Oh, they got some talent. They have got some talent. And if nationally, the Phillies are leading by about a game and a half. In the Central, your Brewers are leading. My Cubs are in second place. In the West, the Dodgers are up by 4.5 over San Diego. And San Diego's playing 500 ball. The Dodgers have a winning record. And San Francisco and Arizona and Colorado have losing records. And Arizona, Corbin Burns is 2 for 24 in his last 24 at bats. He's hitting like 200. And he and Judge are the two big disappointments as far as swinging the bats in the American and National.
Corbin Carroll,
yeah.
I was like, Corbin Burns. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
He's pitching a hell of a season. He might be hitting too. I don't know.
But and the other thing is too. I have said this. You'll be a testament to this too. I have said for years, not just about bunting as a lost art. The most important part of any baseball team is the bullpen. The bullpen is the most important part. Last night, John Means pitched 7 shutout innings. They bring in a little left-hander, just came off the Rodriguez, just came off the IR. He pitches, gives up a hit, strikes out a guy, and the next guy hits into a double play, gets out of the 8th. They're playing the Reds. Bottom of the 9th. Oh, let's bring in Kimbrel. Philadelphia, take him back, please.
They told us to live with it. I was like, oh, he ain't going to really. He going to be the closer.
Well, I didn't think they were going to close him. I mean, you could bring that guy's dad out of that Rosenthal was and let him close. He do just. Kimbrel last week blew 2 games. Blew 2.
Right.
He'd be up in front of the Yankees by 3 games, but he blew 2 saves. And the second time they took him out of the game because they said his shoulder was bothering him. So then they bring him in. First 2 guys get a hit. He gets 1 out. They get another hit and score a run. So they bring in Canio, and he gets the last 2 outs. And they win the game 2-1. But the Orioles, as good as that team is, they're only going as far as their bullpen. And their bullpen is not the Yankees' bullpen. I can tell you that right now.
Right.
It's not the Yankees' bullpen. And I don't think there's a couple other teams in the American League got better bullpens than they do. And if you don't have a real good, and you got to have a closer, they have plenty of people on the farm they can trade. call the A's up and offer somebody for their closer. Right now, he's the best closer in the American League. I'm sure the A's will take some prospects out of Baltimore to give him up. Oh, and speaking of the A's, I feel so bad for their fans, but this is a good story. They scored 20 runs yesterday against the Marlins. That's just how bad the Marlins are. They scored 20 runs. But they had called up this kid named Brett Harris. Due to injuries, they'd called him up, Brett Harris. His first 2 at-bats for Oakland, and his family was in the stands. In the first 2 at-bats, he hit 2 home runs. So, I said, there you go. I saw that on the highlights this morning. I said, this is what makes this game so good. When this kid gets called up, his family's there, and they don't expect a whole lot, and the kid hits 2 home runs. And it's just that's what makes the game so good and so enjoyable. But the thing this week was I've had a chance to watch the Orioles play against the Reds and watching Dela Cruz running around out there. It's just he caught a pop-up in foul territory the other night that most human beings wouldn't have got close to.
I saw they were playing this weekend. I was like, man, I wish I could watch those games.
Oh, hey, it's been
nothing but young talent everywhere on both teams, man.
Now the problem was the game Friday night had a 2.5-hour rain delay, so it came on about the time I was going to bed. Yesterday afternoon, they had a 2.5-hour rain delay. So I got to see the end of it last night. I did watch the Kentucky Derby. I saw where post time was, so I watched about 10, 15 minutes of the Kentucky Derby because I'm not a big horse race fan, except I watched the Triple Crown. I used to be. I used to keep up with it, but not anymore. But it was one of the best sporting events of the year. They had a photo finish, 3 horses right at the line. It was awesome. But there was some good baseball this week. And the reason I was talking about, it looks like the Yankees, the Orioles, the Dodgers, Atlanta, Phillies. And to me, that's it. Those are the ones I expect. 2 of those teams are going to be in the World Series. I just don't see some of these other teams.
I always say you get to the playoffs with 2 pitchers.
Well, nobody picked Texas and Arizona. Nobody last year, and they got there. I like Texas a lot, but they can't keep having these injuries. They just lost Eovaldi.
So here's the thing with it. So Scherzer did a rehab start. And here's the thing about Scherzer and everybody. They said you can't talk to him and all this stuff on the field. Well, so I didn't know this. When a major leaguer goes and does a rehab start in the minors, they pay for the post-game meal in the clubhouse.
Oh, I didn't know.
I didn't know that either. So usually they have sandwiches and whatever chips in there for the for the people. The minor leagues is a little different than the majors. They said when they came out, first off, when they got to the ballpark, one of the people in the clubhouse was handing out earbuds to everybody. So Scherzer bought everybody a pair of earbuds, and then the Apple ones, not no cheapies. And then afterwards, they came in. They had lobster, bone-in ribeye, and tenderloin with all the fixings in the clubhouse. And they said the bill was like over $7,000 that Scherzer paid for the meal for the players after the game in the clubhouse.
Well,
that's class. That's class right there, And I didn't know they did that, but that was
I didn't know that
because I've always heard that Scherzer was a tough guy to be a teammate with, and so I thought that was pretty. It's good to read something like that.
Well, maybe he's mellowing out in his older age. That's
right. Yeah. So it was really, really, nice to read that. I thought I'd bring that up today. But yeah, I'm happy I brought this up on my regular show. First shift now, I get to watch baseball and enjoy my MLB package. I'm excited for that. So
the Phillies are on tonight at 7:30 on ESPN playing San Francisco.
Right. And that San Francisco, they're battling, that I don't know if you saw the play to center fielder first early in the game, he couldn't see the fly ball and the ball dropped. Later in the game, he made a forward diving catch to make a catch that he said nobody else would make. Very, very good. Bad defense to great defense.
Well, see, I've seen, speaking of good defense in the outfield, especially, that kid in Harris, the center fielder for the Atlanta Braves, that he may be the best defensive center fielder in baseball.
I'll give you one of the tops, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of good ones, really good ones.
Yeah.
But this kid, he makes catches. He reminds me a lot of Bernie Williams. He makes a lot of catches, and he makes them look easy. But really, they're not.
He made in the playoffs against the Phillies. That was a pretty damn good catch.
Yeah. But, I mean, he's made some plays this year.
Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr., yeah. Woo. Sorry about that. Pitcher almost got killed. He missed the line drive by that much, getting crushed.
Yeah. Well, that was like that line drive that Yamamoto caught last week.
So they're playing in Tampa, but you wouldn't know it by all the Mets jerseys in the crowd.
Yeah, I saw some of that game yesterday, and they were showing it on MLB, and there was so many Mets. I thought they were playing a home game at first because all it showed was people wearing Mets stuff in the crowd. But hey, it's Florida.
Well, Tampa
is 90% people from New York.
Tampa is New York South.
I mean, people moved from upstate, up the cold north down to the warm south, moved into Florida.
Yeah. So, anything else, Dad? I mean, we're getting into the grinding of the season. We another month down. April's behind us. Got May churning now. We're starting to see, again, the cream's rising to the top. You just named the teams that are really showing that they're head and shoulders above everybody else. But like I always say, it doesn't mean that they're a lock to win anything other than their division, and you don't get the trophy with all the flags on it for that one. You just get a pennant. So it's a lot more to this season. And the injury bug we talked about last week doesn't seem to be getting any better. You just named off some more players today, some names we've heard in the past, some new ones. If you play fantasy baseball like me, you just looking at the day-to-days and who's on the IL. And but it's given us a window into the future because it gives a chance to some younger talent too. So that's the bright side of it.
Oh, and it's a sure thing now. The Squirrels are going to have a new ballpark in about 3 to 4 years.
Awesome. If y'all don't know what he's talking about, that's Richmond, AA team for the Giants. At the moment, it's been that way for 15 years now, 20 years.
Yeah, about 15 years.
Yeah,
maybe longer than that.
I think it's 20 years.
Well, the Braves pulled out in the early 2000s.
Yeah, and then it sat dormant for a couple of years. Well,
and then they moved the AA team. They moved the AA Giants team from New Hampshire to Richmond, and they've been there ever since. And half the time they lead minor league baseball in attendance and all that. And Major League Baseball can make a team move because they don't have the proper facilities. And the only reason they didn't make Richmond move was because of all the fans they draw. So that's the only reason they didn't make a move. And Richmond promised and promised and promised for the last 15 years to get a new ballpark. So finally they voted, the city council voted, and it's in the works.
The team here that's down the street from me, the Dash, that's a high A. They had to do additions to their stadium, and that's a beautiful stadium. But I guess they didn't have good enough facilities for the players because what they built was under the stadiums. I don't know what they built under there. They closed in, they built out and closed in. It didn't add any seats or anything. It was definitely facilities for the players, whatever they may be. So that I know Major League does that. So we're going to end it on that. Don't want to make long-winded and everything. So hope everybody's enjoying the season. Please, any questions, any comments, leave them down below. Please take time, hit one of the thumbs, and just say hi. And I really want to thank everybody that's watching and do communicate to us in the chat. Me and my dad really thank y'all for that. And until next time, see ya.